to today's episode of Nurturing the Whole Child. In our last episode, we looked at how to nurture the whole child from the home front. We looked at various things that caregivers and parents and anyone in the home environment can help create a nurturing environment to help nurture the child in totality or bring up a whole child. So today we look at how to nurture the whole child in the school front. A lot of times when as parents we go asking for spaces for our children in different schools, we are taken to the notice boards and shown great performances in national exams, and we are shown how these schools perform very well, and we are encouraged, we enroll our children hoping for such kind of grades. Today we need to look at other considerations that as parents we need to have in mind, or as guardians when we go out there looking for spaces for children in schools. Schools, as we all know, are a little more than just what we see, the buildings we see, the grades that are on display, and just the physical things that we see around a school. Why should a school environment be positive? Why should it bother us as parents or as guardians or as educators? What environment a school displays? School environment is important, as we know that children thrive in environments that support their individual and diverse developmental needs. So that means if the environment is not positive, if the environment is not good enough, if the environment is not meeting the children's needs, then the child's development could be severely hindered. And just like I've said in the beginning, an environment, a school environment, is much more than what we see with our physical eyes. So what is a positive school environment? So a school environment consists of a lot more than the buildings. We are looking, of course, at the physical environment. We are also looking at the social environment and the emotional environment. The physical environment is easy to explain because we are looking at a school, a space that has enough physical space for children to play, and this space should also be safe and secure for children. We are looking at things that we can see with our eyes, like lighting. We are looking at the quality of air in the school. We are looking at safety. We are looking at all these tangible things. Are there enough desks? Are there enough chairs? We are looking at the walls. Are the walls nicely painted with friendly and warm colors for the children? So basically, that's the physical environment. And if the school takes care of children with physical challenges, or children with even special needs, is the school adapted enough for such children? Those are the things we talk about when we're looking at the physical environment. So basically, any parent going to ask for a space or looking to enroll a child in a particular school will definitely see the physical space. And the good thing is, more and more parents are walking into school spaces and asking to be shown the classrooms. And that is a nice thing. Parents want to see, where will my child be learning from, where are their washrooms, where is their playground, and such kind of things. So the physical space is space that we can see. And it's still important for any parent or any guardian to consider the physical space. You know your child, as you're taking your child from home, as you're transitioning your child from the home environment to the school environment. You know what your child, what kind of environment, a physical environment will suit your child. If your child needs a space where they can run around or play, if your child is being nurtured towards a certain sport like football, like athletics, you know what to look out for as you enroll your child in a particular space. So that is about the physical environment. I want us to dwell a little more on the other types of environments in a school. So we are looking at the social environment. What is a social? We could easily call it the school culture. A lot of times we finish enrolling our children in school by just getting to know the previous year's performances of certain schools. What was your mean grade? Um, how many points? How did your last year's or previous year's candidates perform? And the moment we are shown this kind of performances or whatever it is that we are asking for, we get satisfied. But it's very important to ask ourselves, what's the culture of that school? That is the social environment. What is the policy on behavior, for instance, in a certain school? What does the school stand for? If I enroll my child in this school, what is this soft skill that my child is likely to learn? Is my child going to come out disrespectful? Is my child going to come out entitled? Is my child going to come out proud and arrogant? Is my child going to come out a respectful member of the society? Is my child going to come out virtuous? These are things that any well-meaning parent should ask about at schools, because if a child is put in the wrong social environment, you know that so many things could go wrong. If a child is put in a negative social environment, an environment that encourages name calling, labeling, and bullying in all its forms, what happens to this child? This child's self-esteem goes down, and if the self-esteem goes down, we all know what happens. There's no person who can learn well if their self-esteem is pricked. There won't be much learning. If we are enrolling our children in a school, for instance, that doesn't have a proper guided discipline policy, how do we deal with indiscipline? How do we deal with behavior problems? How do we handle truancy? So if we are not asking such kind of questions, then we are likely to put our children in spaces that may give them grades or may help them go through school, but with nothing of value out of them. I know all parents. I am one. I know we all want children coming out of school as responsible, independent, and well-rounded, well-regulated individuals. So it's important for any person enrolling their child in a school to consider the social environment. We need to ask ourselves what happens if a child is involved in behavior issues, for example. If a child is having issues with relating with their peers, if a child is going through peer pressure and peer influence, what how does the social environment of the school support such a child? And by this, we are talking about children across all ages. We all know that the social needs of a preschooler and a child at middle school and a child at high school are all very different. So if a child is in the elementary stages of learning, we know what they need. They need a very assuring environment, an environment that helps them to develop that sense of autonomy, that sense of uh, self, that sense of uh, worth, them growing up knowing that they are valued and they are loved. So are we checking if the environment we are placing our children encourages that kind of growth for our own children to thrive? So the other aspect of a school environment we need to look at is the emotional environment. We know that children thrive well when their emotional needs are met. If a child is put in an environment or in a space that doesn't excite them about learning or doesn't even put into consideration their readiness to learn, no learning is going to take place. So, as educators, we need to ask ourselves, this environment, this space that I'm creating, this classroom that I'm managing, does it allow the children to express themselves? Does it allow the children to display that readiness to learn? Regardless of how best or super a teacher is, if you are tending to a class where children are not emotionally ready to learn, no learning will take place. So once you get into your classroom or once you get into the school space as an educator, you need to look at your pupils, look at your learners, and check if they are at that emotional state to learn. They also need to be at a position to express their readiness to learn. They should show their own excitement to learn. And how does this happen? If the school encourages their emotional growth, if they are feeling safe, if they are feeling valued, if they are feeling needed, if they are feeling wanted. So an emotionally correct or emotionally positive environment for learners in a school is very important, as it helps build resilience in learners. It helps them get intrinsically motivated for their learning. You see, in as much as teachers and as parents and as all the stakeholders in a child's learning, in as much as we are interested in their great success, it makes a lot of sense and a lot of difference if a child, if the learner is themselves made to own their own learning environment. If we get them excited about learning, if we get them, curious, if we get them expectant and happy that they are learning and that they're in school, if we create such an environment that makes them curious, that makes them want to wake up and come to school, then definitely the outcomes are going to be better. Someone said that every child has that one teacher that makes them want to come to school. And you know what? Every teacher should always endeavor and desire to be that teacher, that teacher that creates that space, that takes care of the learner's emotional state. And with that, it translates to good mental, health state. Because if a child is emotionally secure and stable, their mental health, their state of their mental health is going to be okay. And what does that translate to? To good learning, to easy learning. Such children are easier to take instructions. They are not going to be involved in truancy. They are not going to be rebellious because they are already feeling valued, respected, and they're in a space where they're able to connect with their teachers. So the greater school, the larger school environment has a duty to ensure that the children's emotional well-being is taken care of. But the classroom teacher, the subject teacher, once you get into your class, you see that becomes your area of dominance. It becomes your sphere of influence, your little class of 20, 30, 40, or even 70 learners, depending on where your school is located. That's your sphere of influence. That's where you have so much influence over these learners. So before you start on anything, check with your learners. Do what is called in some quarters a morning circle, it could be a noontime circle or an evening circle. Check on your learners, let them know you're interested in them. Hear from them. How did they wake up? How has their day been so far? Is there anything they're worried about? Engage them. Let them see that as a teacher, you are interested in their well-being. And once you've done that, where you're able to offer solutions, go ahead and offer. Where you can't, seek help for your learners. So that as they sit in that classroom, they know they are needed, they know they are valued, they know they have a space and they belong there. That way, it's going to be so easy to learn. Because you see, in as much as learning is more of cognition work, before we get to the cognition part, we have to take care of the physical, as we have said, the social, and now the emotional. So generally, why should we bother about the learning environment? Why should it worry us what kind of an environment children are learning at? It's important to be very considerate of the school environment because you know what? To some learners, school is like a protective space. Some learners are coming from homes where their lives are unpredictable, they are unstable, they don't have a sense of control. So when they come to school and find a space that is safe physically, that is socially positive, that is emotionally correct, this serves to protect them. And it serves like safe space. It helps them regain assurance and certainty. So that is why we should really be very, very careful what kind of a learning environment we are creating in schools. This school environment could be all the learner has. They could be coming from spaces at home or out at school where there is no certainty, there is no, there is no predictability, there is no order. But when they come to school and the environment is set for them right from the school gate into their classrooms, then it becomes very easy for these learners to, to adapt and to settle down and learn. A positive environment, just as we've said before, helps the learners feel respected, learners feel connected, and generally it improves mental health. So parents and guardians, next time you go looking for a school, you know what to look out for. Don't just stop at the notice board, checking out those grades. That's important. That is good. Don't just check at the buildings and feel like this is it for my child. Go into the office, take your time, watch for some time, ask yourself what is the school culture? What is this the best social environment for my child? Is it the best emotional environment for my child? And especially in these times when we are having a lot of mental health concerns, even among children, then we need to be the more careful what environment, what learning environment we put our children in. So for this and much more, in getting tips and discussions around nurturing the whole child, don't forget to subscribe to my YouTube channel. Thank you and see you next time.